नमस्कार आपण मानक समस्त को यही वीडियो बहुत बहुत स्वागत। आज वीडियो में आपन सहित +3 आर्ट्स इंट्रोडक्शन कॉम्पिटिटिव गवर्नमेंट एंड पॉलिटिक्स हिस्टोरिकल कॉन्टेक्स्ट ऑफ मॉडर्न गवर्नमेंट यूनिट 2 किसी 2 मार्क्स क्वेश्चन आंसर मुझे आपन सह वीडियो शेयर करी आ वीडियो आगे को कहि जे आपण मैंने यार पीडीएफ टी को किपर भाव पाइपर। नेक्स्ट देखा तो किसी 2 मार्क्स क्वेश्चन आंसर हाउ डू यू अंडरस्टैंड कैपिटलिज्म। तो कैपिटलिज्म आम कि जापर तो मुझे वीडियो आप कौन सर्टली डिस्कसन करी आ भावुँ आपण मैंने कौन जेहतु आम सब हायर स्टडी पाठ पढ़ले तो आपण मैंने सर्टली कहले आप सब बुझीपारे। तो चलते स्टार्ट करवा। एन अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ कैपिटलिज्म इज एसेंशियल टू मेक ए सेंस ऑफ कंटेम्पोरारी वर्ल्ड। इफ गोटे कि गोटे कंटेम्पोरारी वर्ल्ड कि गोटे भल तैयारी करें गोटे कैपिटलिज्म रही अंडरस्टैंडिंग इज एसेंशियल टू मेक ए सेंस ऑफ कंटेम्पोरारी वर्ल्ड। इफ इन मार्केट एंड इंडिविजुअल इकोनॉमिक लिबर्टी इज कैंडल ऑफ कैपिटलिज्म देन देर आर हार्डली वन और टू one or two countries on this earth which do not follow one or another form of capitalism. Interestingly, there is great variation in the system followed by different countries. What are the characteristics of central capitalism? तो central capitalism रो characteristics by features कौन रही? The characteristics of central to capitalism include private property, capital accumulation, wage labor, voluntary exchange, a price system, and a competitive markets. What do we mean by capitalist market economy? In a capitalist market economy, decision making and investing are determined by the owners of the factors of production in financial and capital markets. Prices and the distribution of goods are mainly determined by composition of the market. This is called capitalist market economy. Write the meaning of capitalist. Capitalist meaning, the term capitalist meaning an owner of capital appears or earlier than the term capitalism. It dates back the mid 17th century. यह कौन ना 1700 सेंचुरी 17 शताब्दी मध्यकालीन शताब्दी यह कौन चली आसी। नेम द वर्ड फ्रॉम व्हिच कैपिटलिस्ट derived and write down its meaning. Capitalist is derived from capital, which one marks as per capitalist derived from dash capital, which involved from capital, a Latin word, a Latin word based on capt meaning head, capt mean head, Latin word capt mean head. Also the origin of cattle and cattle in the sense of movable property. How did capital emerge? Capital emerge किपर है ना capital emerged in 12th to 13th centuries in the sense of referring to funds, stock of merchandise, sum of money or money carrying interest. By 1283 it was used in the sense of the capital assets of trading firm. It was frequently interchanged with a number of other words: wealth, money, funds, goods, assets, property, and so on. Who has been attributed the integral use of capitalism and what according to the meaning? The integral use of the term capitalism in its modern sense has been attributed to Louis Blanche in 1850. What he calls capitalism, that to Louis Blanche calls capitalism, that is to say the appropriation of capital by some to exclusion of others. According to Oxford Dictionary OED, the term capitalism first appeared in English 1854. The term capitalism is associated with their nations. What are those? One is capitalism means exploitation. Second is the ownership of means of production in concentrated in the hands of few persons. Thirdly, majority people are derived to the ownership of forces or means of production. Next, what is the capitalist mode of production? The capitalist mode of production requires that labor power is to be purchased or hired to facilitate production. The purchase officer an amount to the labor for the labor power in the college wage. There is a gap between what the capitalist receives in the form of revenue from the sale of the commodity produced by worker and what he gives him the form of wage. This is gap is so wide that it forms of basic exploitation. आम जानते जी प्रोडक्शन कला सी अधिक ना कि वर्कर जो मैंने कि लगी थे प्रोडक्शन कर कम ने किसी निजर कौन कम वेग ने. Who propounded the idea of individual hand? What it does it imply? तो इंडिविजुअल लैंडटा से इंपोर्टाट नुहे बोधे व्हाट इज कमोडिटी हम देखा तो व्हाट इज कमोडिटी ए प्रोडक्ट ऑफ लेबर बिकम्स ए कमोडिटी ओनली व्हेन ट्रांसफॉर्म टू अनदर फ्रॉम कंजप्शन थ्रू एक्सचेंज मैंने कौन कमोडिटी बोले सेटा बुझिया जे गोटे आम गोटे उपभोक्ता कौन ट्रांसफर कर पारे जन पाखर जन पाखर कौन ट्रांसफर हो पारिबो ए कमोडिटी हैज टू फोल्ड कैरेक्टर द कैपेसिटी टू satisfy some human want gives to a commodity it its value the capacity of a commodity to be exchanged for another commodity gives it exchange value what is private ownership तो private ownership कौन ना private individuals are the owners of means of production which is land labor capital entrepreneurship these owners decide what to produce in what quantities how it is going to be produced and the reward of labor it is demand and supply that determines the price of finished goods. Next question what is freedom of choice freedom choice freedom of आम कौन खाली किसी इंपोर्टेंट एग्जाम सेमिस्टर आसला भली किसी सिलेक्शन क्वेश्चन डिस्कशन करबा जदि आ बड़का क्वेश्चन मैंने आपन कौन आपन हमर सब टेलीग्राम ग्रुप रे पाई पारबे तो व्हाट इज मीन्ड बाय मिक्स्ड इकोनॉमी कौन ना मिक्स्ड इकोनॉमी जे मेनली market based economy consists of both private and public ownership of means of production and economic intervention through macroeconomic policies intended to correct market failures reduce unemployment and keep inflation low. The degree of involvement in market differs among different countries. Some mixed economies such as France under this is also afford a degree of indirect planning over a largely capitalist based economy. Contemporary capitalist economics are described as mixed economy. बर्तमान समय जो सब कैपिटलिस्ट इकोनॉमी मैंने कौन मिक्सड इकोनॉमी आम कहते हैं. नेक्स्ट देखा how do we define the concept of capitalism. Capitalism is a social system based on the principle of individual rights. Politically it is the system of laissez-faire means freedom. Legally it is system of objective laws means rule of law as opposite to rule of men. Economically when such freedom is applied to sphere of production its rule is free market. How do we mean by free market and state capitalism system? Capitalist system in a free market and laissez-faire forms of capitalism, markets are usually most extensive with minimal or no regulation over the pricing mechanism. In the state capitalist system, markets are relied upon the East, with the state relying heavily on the state-owned enterprises or indirect economy planning to accumulate capital. Next, what is why what do we mean by globalization? जगतीकरण कहले हम कौन बुझिबा ना globalization is the process of organizing the whole world into a single integrated marketing unit. It is also defined as the process of trans-border free flow of products, service, people, culture, technology, and finance. It leads to the integration of economic, cultural, politics, and social system across national borders. What is liberalization and privatization? Liberalization stands for the freedom of entrepreneurs to establish any industry, trade, and business venture within their own countries or abroad. Privatization keeps the state away from ownership of means of production and distribution and letting the free flow of industries, trade, and economic activity across borders. What is free trade? Free trade means it stands for free flow of trade relation among the all nations. Each state stands for MF must means most favored nation status to other states and keeps its business and trade away from excessive and hard regulatory and productive regimes. Next, what is the difference between internationalism and globalization? Internationalism stands for increasing scope and intensity of cooperation among national. Globalization refers to free integrated world system. Globalization is neither a purely economic process nor is related to communication only. It is a broad process of increasing socio-economic, industrial, trade, culture relating among the people living in all parts of the globe. Global means poor whole global. What is called first phase of globalization? The first phase of globalization started from 1870 and ended 1913 without break of the First World War. The First World War had adverse effect on the process of globalization, flow of products, service, labor, and technology across the countries. It started receiving science in 1930, gain and gets take back from the 1940 to 1944 due to Second World War. ये रहा कि यूनिट 2 2 मार्क्स क्वेश्चन आंसर जदि आप पीडीएफ चाहती डिस्क्रिप्शन टेलीग्राम ग्रुप लिंक दे देती आपने कौन से देखिपारे। तो थैंक यू टू ऑल ऑफ वाचिंग दिस वीडियो। नेक्स्ट आम यूनिट 3 रो मुझे वीडियो शेयर करी।